Let me remind you, this is God's word to us. That's why we're going to read the whole thing. Eliashib, the high priest, and his fellow priests went to work and rebuilt the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set the doors in place, building as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and as far as the Tower of Hananel. The men of Jericho built the adjoining section, and Zakur of Imri built next to them. The fish gate was rebuilt by the sons of Hassanah. They laid its beams and put its doors and bolts and bars in place. Meremoth, son of Uri, the son of Hakkoz, repaired the next section. Next to him, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, the son of Meshazabel, made repairs, and next to him, Zadok, son of Baana, also made repairs. The next section was repaired by the men of Tekoa, but their nobles would not put their shoulders to the work under their supervisors. The Jeshanah gate was repaired by Joada, son of Pashiah, and Meshullam, son of Bezodiah. No, that's not said right, but you get the idea. They laid its beams and put its doors with the bolts and bars in place. And next to them, repairs were made by the men of Gibeon and Mizpah, Melatiah of Gibeon, and Jadon of Meronoth, places under the authority of the governor of the Trans-Euphrates. Uzziel, son of Hariah, one of the goldsmiths, repaired the next section, and Hananiah, one of the perfume makers, made repairs next to that. They restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Rephaiah, son of Hur, ruler of the half-district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section. Adjoining this, Jediah, son of Haramoth, made repairs opposite his house, and Hattush, son of Hash and Ben him, made repairs next to him. Malchijah, son of Harim, and Hashub, son of Pahath Moab, repaired another section and the tower of the ovens. Shallum, the son of Halohesh, ruler of half-district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. He's my favourite. The valley gate was repaired by Hanun and the residents of Zanoah. They rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. They also repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. The dung gate was repaired by him again, Malchijah, son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Beth Hakerem. He rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. The fountain gate was repaired by Shallum, son of Kohoseh, ruler of the district of Mizpah. He rebuilt it, roofing it over and putting its doors and bolts and bars in place. He also repaired the pool of Siloam by the king's garden and as far as the steps going down from the city of David. Beyond him, Nehemiah, son of Azbuk, ruler of the half-district of Bethzur, made repairs up to the point opposite the tombs of David and as far as the artificial pool and the house of the heroes. Next to him, the repairs were made by the Levites under Rehum, son of Bani. Beside him, Hashabiah, ruler of the half-district of... Now, I practiced this one. I can't get it right. That place, carried out repairs of his district. Next to him, the repairs were made by their fellow Levites under Binuson of Henadad, ruler of the other half-district of that place. Next to him, Ezer, son of Jeshua, ruler of Mizpah, repaired another section from a point facing the ascent of the armory as far as the angle of the wall. Next to him, Baruch, son of Zabbai, zealously repaired another section from the angle to the entrance of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. And next to him, Meremoth, son of Uri, the son of Hakkoz, repaired another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it. The repairs next to him were made by the priests from the surrounding region, and beyond them, Benjamin and Hashub made repairs in front of their house, and next to them, Azariah, son of Maaziah, the son of Ananiah, made repairs beside his house. Next to him, Binui, son of Henadad, repaired another section from Azariah's house to the angle at the corner, and Palal, son of Uzai, worked opposite the angle and the tower projecting from the upper palace near the court of the guard. Next to him, Pedaiah, son of Parosh, and the temple servants living on the hill of Ophel made repairs up to a point opposite the water gate towards the east and the projecting tower. Next to them, the men of Tekoa repaired another section from the great projecting wall to the wall of Ophel. Above the horse gate, the priests made repairs, each in front of his own house. Next to them, Zadok, son of Emer, made repairs opposite the house, and next to him, Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, the guard at the east gate, made repairs. And next to him, Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, the sixth son of Zalaph, repaired another section. Next to them, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, made repairs opposite his living quarters. And next to him, Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs as far as the house of the temple servants and the merchants opposite the inspection gate, and as far as the room above the corner. And between the room above the corner and the sheep gate, the goldsmiths and the merchants made repairs. And may the Lord add much blessing.
Tim, and it's my privilege to bring the word to you today. And I was thinking about one of my favourite places to visit just down the road, Chester. I don't know how many people have kind of been to Chester. Well known for its zoo, for its cathedral, for its old shopping quarter called the Rose, but perhaps most well known for the medieval walls that surround that old city. And you can walk the 2 miles around those walls that are largely still intact, and you can look at the old historic sites, particularly like kind of the Roman amphitheatre, the ruins of that you can see there. And there are 4 kind of main gates in Chester. East Gate with its famous clock tower, what else? Bridge Gate, North Gate, and Watergate down by the river. And then there are a number of smaller additional gates, Newgate, Cale Yard Gate, and Ship Gate. Now, the ancient city of Jerusalem that we're thinking about from the book of Nehemiah was just a little bit bigger than the city of Chester. Rather than a 2-mile walk round Jerusalem, it's about a 2.5 miles walk. And all the way round, it too had a number of gates, 7 significant ones and another number of others that are mentioned. And of course, the city of Jerusalem, as we've heard in Nehemiah's time, was in ruins. Getting on for probably 100 years previous, the Babylonians had attacked, they'd taken the people off into captivity, and Jerusalem's walls had been pulled down and its gates burned with fire. And the chapter that we're looking at, that was read for us earlier, chapter 3 of the book of Nehemiah, that details the work of the rebuilding of the walls and the restoring and re-securing of the gates to make that city again a strong, safe, flourishing place. And the chapter, as you heard, was this long list of names of people who rebuilt the city, and it tells us about the work that they did. And there are at least I think 40 names that are mentioned, though it probably seemed more because they usually give the family name, the father's name as well. And the record of this work in this chapter is organised around the 7 gates and the repair work that is done to them and the stretch of wall from that gate to the next. And if Mel or Tony could just pop up the slide. You're not going to be able to read all the names. They're the names listed in the chapter. But you can see that sentences kind of 1 and 2 detail the work done on the sheep gate and its section of walls. And then sentences 3 to 5 are about the fish gate and its section of walls. Sentences 6 to 13 describe what was happening at Jeshaniah Gate and its walls. Sentence 13, we're told about the Valley Gate. Sentence 14, that lovely named Dung Gate. Sentence 15 to 27, Fountain Gate. And then finally, sentences 28 to 32, Horse Gate and the stretch of wall around that. And so it's quite an organised way of doing things. There were workers who were assigned to each gate and each section of wall. And we're often given their names, the names of individuals. Sometimes it's a pair of individuals working together. Other times we're just told the profession of the people doing it or the place that they come from. But we can assume that for each person mentioned, there probably would have been a team of people that they headed up and led, either their household or extended family or people from their district or hometown. And so you can see the way that I read this chapter is I think there are about 40 teams, each working on a separate section of the wall or repairing a gate. And we're going to be looking at some of these people and what they did this morning. But as we do so, it's important to remember what the real building project is that we need to be thinking about. Because Nehemiah himself, he wasn't just a city builder, but really a community or church builder. His focus wasn't primarily to restore the city infrastructure. That was very much a means to an end to restore and repair the people and the community and their relationship with God. The Old Testament paints very literal, vivid, visual pictures of things that the New Testament explains as more spiritual and eternal. The Apostle Peter, in the passage that Steve started the service with, his first letter in chapter 2 and sentence 5 says that we as Christians are living stones being built into a spiritual house. The real building work that is going on isn't being done with inanimate objects like wood and stone, but with us as living people, as we are put together into a living spiritual building, the community or the church of God's people. And that passage in 1 Peter, it first and foremost describes Jesus as the living stone because he's the foundation or the cornerstone upon which the whole building stands and is built. We are built on Jesus Christ. But because we are living stones that are part of a living, growing, very much still under construction building, or indeed actually, if you think back to our series in Revelation just a few weeks ago, it's also described as a living city, the New Jerusalem. It's the same imagery, or in fact, a third imagery that's often used in the Bible to picture the same thing is as us, as a church, being a human body. And Paul, in the book of Ephesians, uses that picture and the building work that we are to be about there. He says in Ephesians 4 and sentence 16, from him, from Jesus, the whole body joined and held together by every supporting ligament, and this is the phrase I think is significant, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. And really that's going to be the focus as we think about this actual building that is really happening, how it grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. And of course, there are two ways that as a church, we are to be building ourselves up in love, and each of us doing our part in that. We are to be adding new living stones to the building as we tell others and speak the story of Jesus and help them to become Christians. But also, as the main idea of the Ephesians passage and what really leads to and lays the foundation for this other, we're to be caring for one another. We're to be speaking the truth in love to each other so that we encourage one another and help each other to grow in our faith and our love and our hope. That's how we become a stronger, more visible, impactful church and community here in Speak. And so that very much is what we're going to be thinking about and have in our minds as we look at Nehemiah chapter 3 this morning. And I have three things that I particularly want us to notice from this chapter with all these names. And I have to say that I've kind of nicked these headings from someone else, as when I came across them, they seem to capture exactly what it is that I wanted to say and emphasize. And so firstly, I want us to think how this list of names and the work that is being done here shows us how everyone is important. And then secondly, it shows us how everyone's gifts are valuable. And then thirdly, how everyone is to take responsibility. So firstly then, we can see how everyone is important. Now, I don't know what you think the point of all of these names being recorded is, or whether you even think there is a point and a significance to them. Perhaps they seem a list of long-forgotten, irrelevant people. But of course, by being recorded, the point is that they are not forgotten, but are being recognized and remembered for the work that they did. And it's quite something if we think that God is the one who is noticing and wants these names to be recorded. And the Bible records that there is actually a much fuller list of names of all of God's people, the book of the Lamb's Book of Life. And our individual names are recorded along with our works of service, the care that we do for one another. And we have to stress, of course, that that list isn't the basis on which God accepts and saves us. As Andy was telling the kids, there are no good people in heaven. We don't become a Christian by doing good things. Quite the opposite. We rely on Jesus' work and his death on the cross. But still, as Christians, it's wonderful to know that we are known individually by name, and as out of our love for God and our thankfulness for all that he has done for us, we serve and we do our part to build the church up in love. These things are noticed and they are recorded by God. Jesus tells us in Luke 10 and sentence 20 that it is something to rejoice in and be thankful that your names are written in heaven. But I think what's also important about this list of names is how diverse and different these people are. Just among those working on the sheep gate and its section of walls, in the first three sentences, you have priests working alongside people who'd come down to help out from the nearby city of Jericho. and this individual who really we know nothing about called Zacchaeus. And later on, among those repairing the Jeshanah gate in sentences 6 to 12, there were people from even further afield, from Gibeon and Mizpah, places under the authority of the governor of Trans-Euphrates. And they're working alongside, we're told, goldsmiths and perfume makers, as well as rulers of different districts or half-districts in Jerusalem and the surrounding region, with one of them, as Steve highlighted, having his daughters there helping him out. So there are people from all walks of life, men and women, rich and poor, local and from further afield, all coming together to do their bit in this building project. Everyone was needed, and everyone had an important place and part to play. And that's how it is here at Speak Baptist Church. We have people from far and near, people born and brought up here in Speak or Liverpool, with others like myself who have moved here from other parts of the UK or increasingly from all over the globe. We've ordinary workers, skilled and professional workers, men and women, young and old, all of us essential to this work of building ourselves up in love as we each do our part. Telling the Jesus story and what he has done in our lives to those around us and to each other so that we encourage and build each other up and care for one another. And it's very striking that the phrase that occurs most often in this chapter is such and such built the adjoining section or built next to or similar words. Emphasizing people working side by side together in partnership. The church and this local expression of the church here at Speak Baptist Church is a wonderful demonstration of a diverse group of people unified and working together. Here in Nehemiah 3, the spiritual leader, the high priest, he sets the tone in sentence 1. He gathers his fellow priests together and went to work and rebuilt the sheep gate. And we're told that they dedicated it, as they did with the Tower of the 100 that they also built. Dedicated it to God. Had some sort of ceremony or service probably that made it clear at the outset that this building project, in fact this whole city and the people themselves belonged to God, and that this was all being done for God and for his glory. This is what united this diverse group of people. They were all working for God, building up this city as a place that would honour and bring glory to God. Doing so as people who knew that they and everything they were doing belonged to God. And really that's what kind of sets a church apart from every other club or community. We don't belong to it for our own sake or to advance our own name and honour. Yes, we are important. Yes, we have a clear place and purpose as part of this building project. But that is because it is all about God and us dedicating all we do to him and his glory and knowing that we belong to him. That is what unites and brings together people from such a diverse background so that we can work side by side in partnership with one another. And how privileged we are to be a part of this and to be known and named as individuals. Our names and our work recorded and recognised in heaven's book never to be forgotten, with our work having eternal and lasting significance beyond and above anything that we are or could ever do ourselves. Everyone is needed. Everyone is to be a part of this work. And having this list of workers shows that you are important. But then secondly, having this list of names shows that your gifts are also valuable. Now, it's quite striking, actually, that none of the people recorded here are professional builders or construction workers. We're not given a list of stonemasons or carpenters or architects or even handymen and DIY enthusiasts. As we've seen, we're told about priests and civic rulers, goldsmiths, perfume makers, merchants, and other very ordinary, probably seemingly unqualified men and women, non-experts, who I doubt had ever been involved in a building project of this scale, and maybe, if they were like me, had never built anything in their lives before. People doing things they could never have expected or thought that they could never have done. And again, that's how it is in church life here at Speak Baptist Church. We are a group of non-experts. Many of us have other jobs that probably have little connection with church building and telling the story of Jesus here in Speak and building each other up and speaking the truth in love to one another in a way that encourages and comforts or corrects each other and grows each one of us in our faith and hope and love. And I expect, like the people here, we might feel totally underqualified for this task. We may feel daunted and that we don't have the knowledge or the training for this. But there's a bit of a kind of a cheesy, I guess, saying that goes, the only ability that God is interested in is our availability, being willing, having a heart for God and his great church and building project, making yourself available to him and his church to be used and put to work in whatever way that he pleases. That is what really counts. And as we make ourselves available, as we pray and attempt great things for God, then he equips and gifts us to be able to do the task in front of us. And with that, everyone's gift and contribution becomes hugely valuable. And one thing that I think we can learn from this list of names and the work that people did is God tends to put right in front of us the work that he wants us to do. I think it's significant that quite a few of these workers built the section of wall right in front of their house. Jedediah, in sentence 10, made repairs opposite his house, as did Benjamin, Hashub, and Azariah in sentences 23, and the priests and Zadok in sentences 28 and 29, and Meshullam in sentence 30. So simply do whatever God puts right in front of you to do. Speak to the person who's sitting next to you after the service. If you have a kid of the age of Speak Tots or Speak Kids or Speak Youth, take them along, not this week, next week, and see if you can help out there. If you're free on a Tuesday or usually a Thursday morning and you just enjoy drinking tea and eating bacon or sausage barms, then come along to the cafe and just mix and chat with people in the community. Or find which house group is on your street or just around the corner and join it. But actually, don't just be thinking about the organised activities of the church, as important as they are. But be thinking about individuals who might be right in front of you, who you could meet up with for a coffee, and perhaps to read a Christian book together, and perhaps the Bible. Or think about your lonely neighbour who you might be able to visit and encourage and pray with. Or the community project that you could get involved in as a way to meet and befriend people. And we don't have to do these things on our own. We are meant to do them side by side, hand in hand with others. So you and a friend could meet up with someone who you know less well for coffee and read together. Or you could take that friend or a different friend to visit your neighbour, or to go to that community project together. And actually, this so often is how our gifts become evident. As we make ourselves available, as we do the things that God puts right in front of us, hand in hand, side by side with others, as we begin those conversations, as we do those activities that previously may have felt daunting or that we felt unqualified for, we can find that actually we can do them. And in some ways we might actually be okay at them, passable, even perhaps good at them. And always we have to see that what we do is a part of God's great church building project, which no matter how small our contribution may seem, is seen and noticed by him as it's recorded in his book in heaven. As we each put ourselves out there, often doing things outside of our comfort zone and things that we would feel unqualified for, but working together with others as those who belong to God and are doing it for God, God's church building project goes forward and makes progress. People do hear the Jesus story and begin to believe it. That people are encouraged and built up so that the church together matures and grows stronger. And if you're now doing things that you've become very comfortable with, perhaps you could almost do them blindfolded and with one arm tied behind your back when years ago you thought, I could never have done that. Maybe think about new areas of service that might be right in front of you. Because doing new things, as we push ourselves out of our comfort zones, makes us depend on God in a really healthy way. So we all do have gifts. They are given to us by God. And your gifts are valuable, indeed invaluable, in God's church building project. And this brings us to our third and final thing that I'd like us to see from this passage, and that is how everyone here takes responsibility. Well, I say everyone. This list not only records the workers, but sadly it records a few shirkers. Sentence 5 tells us, the next section was repaired by the men of Tekoa, but their nobles would not put their shoulders to the work under their supervisors. These nobles, and only them, that seems to point to where the problem was, seem to have an issue with authority. They don't like their supervisors. They probably don't like doing what somebody else says. Perhaps they feel that manual work is beneath them, that as nobles they're supposed to be lording it over others and telling them what to do, and perhaps making suggestions on how the building project could be done better their way. But the Bible has a very different view of authority. Leaders are to be servant leaders who work for the good of others, not themselves. They're to be gladly putting themselves under God's authority and have that humble attitude that they need others and they need to be learning from and growing like everyone else. These nobles stand in contrast to the high priest and to the other rulers of districts and half-districts of Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. Those men were all willing to lead by example. As they rolled up their sleeves, worked alongside, shoulder to shoulder with everyone else, building the wall. Now, one of the things that I love about this list is that although these men of Tekoa had poor leaders, it doesn't stop them doing the work and actually doing it well. In fact, I think they're the only people mentioned twice in this list. They're here in sentence 5, repairing a section of wall around the fish gate. But then they're also mentioned in sentence 27, repairing what's described as another section of wall in the fountain gate area. So it seems that they finished the first section and they volunteer to do another. Now that's commitment, and even with and despite having poor leaders. And I was thinking that thankfully that means that you can take responsibility and achieve a lot, even if we elders aren't that great leaders. And these men of Tekoa, they aren't the only ones who seem to have finished their allocated section and then carried on and done more. In sentence 13, Hanan and the residents of Zanoah, they repair the valley gate. And when they've done that, we're told, they also repaired 1,000 cubits of wall as far as the dung gate. That's a long additional stretch of wall. And then there is Barak in sentence 20. Uniquely, he's described as zealously repairing a section of wall. He's a great example of someone doing their work with great energy and enthusiasm. Everyone is important in God's building project. Everyone has gifts that are valuable, invaluable in this work. And so everyone is needed and is to be taking responsibility for their bit of the work, working hand in hand, side by side with everyone else. That's how a church works and grows, how God's kingdom, and in fact you personally as a Christian are built up and flourish. Now, if perhaps you are feeling that you're not involved in any particular work in the church, or you're not really investing in any particular relationships where you're a part of and seeing the church grow and build itself up in love, then perhaps I can challenge you and ask, well, why? And what or who might be right in front of you that you could invest in? Speak Baptist Church is very much a church where we want everyone to take responsibility for their share in God's work, partnering side by side with each other to grow and build the church up in love as each part does its work. And be encouraged that as we do that, our names and our work is known and recognized, and it's recorded not in this list, but in heaven's book. Amen.